Interested and intrigued about Act 2, Scene 4 of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night? Me too. Let's explore further and study this scene. This is Schofield on Shakespeare. As ever with these videos, you need to have read the scene in full and thought about it before watching the video. Go away and do that if you haven't yet done so.
Time for my brief summary of Act 2, Scene 4. We switch from naughty late night shenanigans with Sir Toby, Maria and co in the subplot to our self-indulgent lover Orsino. As in Act 1, Scene 1, the Duke commands and calls for music, this time from Feste, who appears to have been flitting between households. Remarkably, Orsino manages to spend some of his time expressing an interest in someone other than himself, namely Cesario. He speculates that his effeminate page may have fallen in love, something Viola confirms. As Orsino presses for some details, she strikes a remarkably fine line between truthfully describing her own feelings without directly revealing that she is in love with him. Orsino makes some typically self-centered, sweeping judgments about men and women in love. These include: a woman should marry a man older than herself, men can be less constant than women in love, and women's beauty is exceptionally short-lived. When Feste enters, he sings a dreary number about a man who commits suicide following rejection from an unreasonable, cruel woman who wasn't interested in him. Orsino predictably loves this song and pays Feste accordingly. The scene ends with an intriguing exchange between Viola and Orsino, in which the former spiritedly sticks up for the strength of women's feelings in love. She enigmatically quotes her father's daughter, who loved a man but never revealed her love and suffered accordingly. How it ended is not revealed. Orsino's temporary interest in someone other than himself is quickly ended when Viola asks whether she should go to Olivia to once again urge upon her the strength and nobility of his affections. Time for you to answer some questions, dear viewers and subscribers. The more you independently write and think about these 3 questions, the better. This video will resume in 5 seconds time, so press pause now to pen your responses. Question 1. Consider the role played by music in this scene and the play so far. Writing in his essay Shakespeare's Many Sorts of Music, John Hollander argues that the role of music is so obviously fundamental to the spirit of the play. What does this mean? What is the spirit of the play, at least up until the end of Act 2, Scene 4? Well, let's first chart the music used in the play. Act 1, Scene 1 begins with music, with first Orsino calling for it to continue so that he can have too much of it, to have a certain lovely phrase repeated, before abruptly asking for it to stop. It doesn't sound as good as it did previously. It is not then mentioned again until Act 2, Scene 3, although in some productions there could easily be music to accompany Sir Andrew's dancing towards the end of Act 1, Scene 3. Act 2, Scene 3 sees Sir Toby and Sir Andrew's shenanigans, partly fuelled by booze and partly fuelled by music. First Feste's solo song suggesting lovers should get on with it, then the jolly round entitled Thou Knave, which continues even during Malvolio's indignant rebukes. Finally, in Act 2, Scene 4, we have first the accompaniment and then the song about a jilted lover about to die, which Orsino praises for being from an older, more serious period than his own. So overall, so far in the play, there are two fully scripted songs, Come Away, Death, and O Mistress Mine, Where Are You Roaming? The improvised song Thou Knave, plus the Orsino-inspired and instructed instrumental interludes. And this is before we add in any other music which directors may decide to use. For example, for helping create a certain mood, or to help smooth transitions between scenes. John Hollander suggests that music is fundamental to the spirit of the play. What spirit, then, is created by the music in the scenes above? Well, the prevalence of music so far in Twelfth Night emphasises that this is a play which revels in feelings and experiencing these feelings. For Orsino, and in a different way Sir Toby and Sir Andrew, music helps intensify their feelings and emotions. For the former, the drama and passion of his unrequited love. For the latter, their ability to drunkenly ponder and have more fun. In relation to Orsino, you could also argue that the way he tries to control and replay a certain type of music hints at the superficiality of his feelings. In Act 1, Scene 1, he first calls for That Strain Again, It Had a Dying Fall, and compares its sound to the wind and air around a bank of beautiful flowers, before abruptly calling for it to cease. The idea that musicians can somehow, at the click of a duke's finger, replay a certain strain or phrase of music, and that this repetition will be satisfactory and equally beautiful, is deeply flawed and arguably ridiculous. Music needs to be heard within context. You can't just cut out and replay tiny phrases at will, and this demand from the Duke suggests that he may be more interested in self-generated, self-controlled, intense impulses, rather than genuinely in love with another actual person. Similarly, the fact that he wants to wallow in a song about a lover dying suggests that he may be most interested in the drama of extremities rather than the realities of genuine relationship building. Shall we have a quick listen to a version of this song? As in my previous video, let's return to my fellow Old Etonian, dear Roger Quilter, the early 20th century composer. It's in C minor, beautifully melodic, and if performed on stage, showcases the versatility and talents of Feste. Not only can he amuse Olivia, Sir Toby and co, but he can also be serious and indulge the whimsies of indolence. Way back in May 2017, I saw a production of Twelfth Night at the Globe in which Feste was played by a splendidly named chap called Le Gâteau Chocolat. This production included a real disco version of Sister Sledge's We Are Family, with director Emma Rice worried about the ability of modern audiences to fully understand and get the character of Feste, particularly his language. But does the upbeat, wide smile unity of the Sister Sledge song really reflect the mood in Shakespeare's original? Or was Shakespeare intending something slightly more ambiguous? Yes, elements of disco fun, but beneath the surface, hints of darker complexity? Which brings us naturally on to question 2. What more do we learn about Viola in this scene? Well, what do we know about her beforehand? That she was plucky, resourceful, able to internalise her grief for her presumed dead brother, resilient, determined, and, to the bewilderment of most in the audience, hopelessly in love with Orsino. In this scene, we see all of these things, but we also get a more detailed idea of her independence of mind and thought, and it seems strange to say this when, in this scene, she's clearly the dependent of Orsino, both in terms of her position as his page and her feelings. But what we see with the lines on screen is that Viola, as much as she loves Orsino, is prepared to stand up to him. She is prepared to force him to consider alternative perspectives. She says directly to him that he must, note the strength of this modal verb, be willing to accept Olivia's refusal to love him, and that, hypothetically, and for the audience in reality, there could be a woman with similarly strong feelings for him which he might feel unable to reciprocate. This is not a woman who can only toady, but an individual with her own mind, someone who is not overawed by social position, thus foreshadowing a marriage at the end of the play with genuine potential for harmony and something that resembles equality. Within a play characterised by complex language, whether that is Feste's wordplay or Orsino's poetry, the simplicity and directness of Viola's language is striking. Look at the final 3 sentences, all simple sentences, all between 4 and 6 words. This confirms the impression we have of her as a character of honesty and integrity, which is ironic given the deceit that she is currently practicing on all but her faithful followers in the audience. But of course this scene contains some darker undertones. With the words on screen, Viola lets the audience know the extent to which she loves Orsino, and how difficult it is proving for her to maintain her mask as biddable, kind page, when her heart hankers for so much more. The reference to her father's daughter keeping silent but suffering for it is sobering within a play of vibrant music, jokes and planned escapades. The simile is horrible when you think about it. The having to keep permanently silent about her love led to a gradual decomposition from within and the loss of a healthy pink colour on her cheek. The personification of patience on a monument conjures up images of death and tombs, and overall the impression is of extraordinarily harmful, passive decay of life and spirit. So these words give genuine depth to Viola's character and feelings, and they showcase in comparison the shallowness of Orsino's self-indulgent faux rhapsodies. They also make it clear that, in a play of a different genre, there could be tragic consequences to such constant depth of feeling, should it continue to remain unrequited. Ophelia in Hamlet springs to mind. Of course, what is so poignant about these lines is that the audience know that Viola is talking about herself, whereas Orsino thinks that it is simply some kind of sister. Which brings us on to question 3. What is the effect of this dramatic irony, and how has it evolved from earlier in the play, notably Act 1, Scene 4? Shall we just revisit this scene and chump Orsino's description of his new page's physical attributes? Isn't this what disguises and dramatic irony should be all about within Shakespearean comedy? Simple laughs for the audience as one of the characters on stage unwittingly skirts close to the truth without realising it, but there being no real harm done by the disguise. Take As You Like It, for instance, a play in which Rosaline dresses up as the male Ganymede and attains a degree of control which poor Viola never has. Within the extract on screen, we know that Rosalind, described as Ganymede, loves Orlando, but at this point she can't express it. So, as the others openly reveal who they love, she can't. So instead she comes as close as she dares to the truth by suggesting that she will be in love with no woman. The audience laugh at this clever half-truth, and ultimately it is doing Orlando no harm whatsoever to have to wait a bit for Ganymede's unveiling as Rosalind. So, for me, disguises and dramatic irony should result in light-hearted entertainment for the audience. It is anything but in Act 2, Scene 4. We have previously analysed what this quotation reveals about Viola. It shows the intensity of her feelings for Orsino and the fact that it is proving increasingly difficult maintaining her facade of dutiful page, which makes it virtually impossible for her to act upon her feelings. What else is the effect of the dramatic irony? Well as creating a more sombre mood, it highlights to the audience the dangers of role-playing and experimenting with different identities which are not our own. Viola may have chosen to disguise herself for the best of reasons, to buy her time as she susses out this new country, knowing that as a single woman she would be more vulnerable and more restricted. However, her disguise has unwittingly trapped her and left her impotent. While she is a man, there is no way she can present herself as a potential romantic option for Orsino to hunt. Sadly, Shakespearean comedies, unlike their BBC counterparts, couldn't include homosexual happy endings. So the dramatic irony here leaves the audience sighing and feeling for Viola. She has lost any remnant of control she may have gained through her initial cross-dressing. For modern audiences, the dramatic irony highlights the unsatisfactory inequality between men and women, particularly when it comes to instigating relationships. Women need to be wooed, need to wait for men to take the first step, and if they don't, you just have to remain goddamn silent and impotently pine. In the 1970 TV production, directed by John Sichel, Viola seems almost pathetic as she gazes into the distance and talks of concealment, pining and melancholy. It is as though she is forecasting her own future passivity and misery. Meanwhile, an Orsino with some tantalising bare chest showing listens intently, but only perhaps out of polite interest. He continues to believe it is Olivia whom he passionately loves.
A blank, my lord. She never told her love. But let concealment, like a worm i' the bud, feed on her damask cheek. She pined in thought, and with a green and yellow melancholy, she sat like Patience on a monument, smiling at grief.
Looks like we're out of time. This has been a Schofield on Shakespeare production, exploring Act 2, Scene 4 from Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. Many thanks for watching.